Barack Obama is trying to defuse a firestorm. He started Thursday when he said his upcoming trip to Iraq could lead him to refine his policy on ending the war. Obama insisted that he's not adjusting his withdrawal plan, but he appeared to give himself room to do so down the line.
As Commander-in-Chief, I would always reserve the right to do what's best in America's national interest. And if it turned out, for example, that we had to in certain months slow the pace because of the safety of American troops in terms of getting combat troops out, of course we would take that into account. I would be a poor Commander-in-Chief if I didn't take facts on the ground into account.
Matthew Slutsky is a blogger and co-host of the online radio show Doublespeak, and JP Freire is managing editor with American Spectator. So Matthew, I'll start off with you. Is this doublespeak from Senator Obama?
Well, I don't think it is at all. First of all, it's not surprising that the McCain campaign is attacking him. They've had a terrible week with campaign shakeups and whatnot. But if you look at what Senator Obama said and you look at his fundamental position on Iraq, he hasn't changed anything. He has said all along that ending the war in Iraq is going to be a major priority of his administration early on as he becomes the president. And what he said now is that he's going to listen to the commanders on the ground, which quite frankly is what George Bush should have been doing all along throughout his presidency, and that he will adjust his strategy, but that fundamentally it's about ending the war in Iraq as president.
So, JP, let me ask you then, some are saying how can McCain criticize Obama for keeping an open mind, if you will? That's exactly what he's been insisting, that Senator Obama needed to get over to Iraq and see the situation rather than commenting from here.
Well, I mean, here's one of the things that I find really weird, though, is that Obama was talking about withdrawing from Iraq for some time, and he was being criticized as being a little too hasty in all of his talk. Now he's saying that he'd be willing to consider a slower withdrawal, which is more of a contradiction than I think than my colleague would actually allow. And it just makes no sense. I mean, it is a flip-flop. There's no question about it.
Well, he came out and specifically, he gave that second press conference, and he seemed a little bit upset that his comments, in his opinion, had been taken as a flip-flop. He insisted that he was still looking at the 16-month timeline, 1 or 2 brigades a month. So he reiterated that stance. So how is that a flip-flop?
Well, because he was giving himself a more room to wiggle when his entire pledge has been based on a more radical withdrawal plan.
So, Matt,
and he was also expecting to be handled with kid gloves, as he has been. I mean, meanwhile, McCain can't take enough flack for his continuation of what a lot of people are saying is, George Bush's 2 terms, when in fact I think Obama is probably the more likely candidate to win the third Bush term.
Well, Matt, let me ask you about that, because there have been bloggers who really have been letting Obama have it this week. I think it was somewhere around 15,000 that went on his own website, very unhappy with his recent remarks concerning FISA, the recent Supreme Court gun decision, and now this issue with Iraq.
Well, I just have to say on the issue of Iraq, this is about doing what's in the best interest of our country and what's the best in the interest of our troops.
But he set a timeline. He set a timeline saying 16 months, albeit he says he wants to do this safely, but he said 16 months, 1 or 2 brigades a month.
Right, and he hasn't changed his position on that. All he's saying is that there could be a bit of wiggle room in terms of how the troops are withdrawn, but it doesn't change the fact that they will be withdrawn. Barack Obama is going to fundamentally change the mission in Iraq and thus change the outcome and the safety of the troops in Iraq. And John McCain is going to pursue the same strategy that he's always wanted to pursue, which is continue the war in Iraq as Bush has launched it.
All right, Matt, JP, thank you very much for your conversation on this hot topic this morning. And on this July 4th holiday,